Good morning, everybody. Today is May 31st. Tomorrow will be June 1st. Time is flying. We are in some very interesting times. I want to share a real COVID story with you. It's the story of how COVID hit my household. First of all, my three sons live with me. My oldest son is married. My daughter-in-law lives with me. We have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter. And my daughter-in-law was pregnant again. And then my oldest son got hit with COVID first. He had a fever and a cough. I would say he was about 80%, kind of felt sluggish and stuff like that, but he was not knocked out. Then my wife got it. She had a cough, lost her sense of smell for a few days. For half a day. Then my middle son got it. He actually got knocked on his ass for 3 days, very bad flu symptoms. So he had to call in sick to work, at which point his company told him he would need to get tested negative for COVID for him to come back to work. Then I got it. I had one day where I felt sluggish. But the only reason why I knew I had it is because I lost my sense of smell for 2 days. Now, that's never happened to me before. So that prompted me to go get tested. I tested positive. But before that happened, my daughter-in-law's water broke on a Monday morning. My son took her to the hospital, and they had to test her. She tested positive. So she had to have the baby by herself. She gave birth by herself with nobody there. Took us 4 days bickering with the hospital before they even had a protocol set up. It turns out they allowed us to have a family member who does not live in the house take the baby home. So that was my sister-in-law. She lives with my mother-in-law. My sister-in-law's in her early 50s. My mother-in-law's 89. So they took the baby, and that'll be relevant in the story later. I went to go get tested. I tested positive. I tested 3 days after I got my sense of smell back. So I probably still had it in my system. I retested yesterday, negative. So it's run its cycle through with me. My son, who got the bad flu symptoms, tested negative. He's back to work. My oldest son, he tested positive, then negative. He's back to work. And my youngest son didn't get any symptoms at all, but we're 100% certain he must have had it because we're in this household. So right now, we went through the whole cycle of COVID, and we're all healthy. Now, I was campaigning in my videos at the beginning to let the healthy people go to work smartly. Let's not shut down the economy. And we did. We're torpedoed now. So we don't even know yet the ramifications. I got yelled at because, I wasn't respecting life and this and that. It's nonsense, okay? We wanted to get COVID. We wanted it to run the cycle because the severity of it is not as bad as it's being portrayed. And we're going to look at some numbers. I have all the numbers pulled up. One of my dear friends, who's one of my mentors, when I told him, I tested positive for COVID, he said, congratulations. So think about that. So now where we're at is my mother-in-law is 89 years old. Her and her youngest daughter helped take care of the baby. When we start opening up businesses and things like that, is my mother-in-law going to be able to go out? Is anybody going to be able to come inside to visit her? This is quite a quandary that's been created here. And another little side story, I have a friend from high school. He got it really bad. He had terrible, terrible flu symptoms, knocked out. His doctor wouldn't return his calls. He got a referral for a doctor from a friend. He dragged his ass in there. The doctor prescribed hydroxychloroquine, and within 24 hours, he was back on his feet again. He wasn't 100%, but he was, substantially better. And the doctor had told him that he had prescribed hydroxychloroquine for over 100 patients already, and he had a 100% success rate in each one of those patients improved. He also said that many other doctors in the area are prescribing that. I'm not making a statement on hydroxychloroquine. I'm just giving you some real data from the field. My own personal data and the data from a dear friend of mine. So my contention is right now that I'm going to not say 100%. I'm going to say here's a possibility, which I think is highly probable, about COVID-19 versus influenza. So the first thing I did was I pulled up a chart of all the deaths from influenza in the United States of America year over year. And what it is going to show is between 23,000 is actually the lowest number, and that would be in 2015-16, as high as 61,000 deaths from influenza in the United States in 2017-2018. This is right off the CDC website. So we have a real working number that a high year for the flu would be 61,000 deaths from influenza. So if we're going to look at the numbers, let's look at the numbers. Now, we're at about 103,000 deaths in the United States so far, according to the news, according to the CDC. I believe the numbers are greatly exaggerated. Why do I believe they're exaggerated? Well, the media exaggerates everything. If you don't know that, then there's probably no sense in you watching any more of this video. The media exaggerates everything, including the weather. How often do weather events occur as bad as they predict them? The media exaggerates everything. So that's the first reason I think the numbers are inflated. Now, I had read somewhere that the hospitals get bonused for diagnosing COVID. So I Snoped that. Here's what Snopes says. Here's the claim. Medicare is paying hospitals $13,000 for patients admitted with COVID-19 diagnoses and $39,000 for those patients that are placed on ventilators. Now, that's the exact claim I've been hearing in other information sources other than the news. Is it true? If it is true, then that means that the COVID case numbers can be greatly exaggerated. So let's see what Snopes says. They say it's a mixture about this rating. What's true? It's plausible that Medicare is paying hospital fees for some COVID-19 cases in the range of the figures given by Dr. Scott Jensen, a Minnesota state senator, during Fox News interview. What's false? However, Medicare says it does not make standard one-size-fit-all payments to hospitals for patients admitted with COVID. The $13,000 and the $39,000 figures appear to be based on generic industry estimates. So what does that tell me? That tells me that there's a possibility that hospitals are getting incentivized for diagnosing COVID, and that will inflate the numbers. Lastly, and I don't have the chart pulled up, the number of deaths from everything else, like heart disease, cancer, and everything, has gone down to numbers that are below where they should be or normally are. So a lot of these things that are happening, they're taking it in one category, like heart disease. I've died of heart disease, and they're putting it into COVID. So these 103 deaths that we're talking about, in my opinion, they are most greatly exaggerated. Now, I'm not diminishing the severity of this COVID-19. I think it's a bad flu. People have died from it, but I do believe it's ultra contagious. Look, we all got it in my house. So based on that alone, I would say it's very contagious. But the lethality of it is what I'm questioning. So let's look at a few more numbers. Let's just take that the age. Let's just take the number of deaths. Instead of saying 103,000, let's just call it 110,000. Let's assign it as a real number. On the CDC website, as of March 23rd, 1.145 million people have been tested at a positive rate of 13.1%. That means 13.1% of the population that was tested positive. So if you extrapolate that 13.1% of the tested people tested positive, we could deduce mathematically that 13.1% of the general population of the United States probably has it. If you take approximately 330 million people, we have a little bit less, 13.1% of that number is 42 million people. It's not unrealistic to take the actual number of tested people and apply it and extrapolate it to the entire population. So this is frank math. If 42 million people have COVID and we have 110,000 deaths, that's 0.26%. That's about 1/4 of 1% of people who get it will die from it. If we want to drill down the number and, say that the number of deaths has been exaggerated by a factor of 2, which can very easily be true, then the number divides in half. Then it's 0.13%, which means 1 in 1,000 people will die from COVID. If we take the demographic, here's another interesting chart from the CDC. The CDC breaks down, this is New York data, so this is in the hot spot. It goes 0 to 17 years old, how many people have died, 18 to 44 years old, how many people have died, 45 to 64 years old, how many people have died, 65 to 74 years old, and 75 plus years old. That's how they break it down. And of course, we already know this, that as you get older, you have a higher chance of dying from the flu, COVID, whatever. Here's the interesting statistic. Of all those age groups in New York, and everybody who's died from it, cumulatively, 75% had pre-existing conditions. That means 3 of the 4 people who died in New York at all age groups, let's see what they say, with underlying conditions. Now, that also kind of dilutes the lethality of the flu. So anyway, these are real numbers. This is my own math, and it's interesting. I was a proponent of going back to work, and when I look at the numbers now and what's happening here, I'm certain of it. I could be wrong. I always tell you, if you're going to be a critical thinker and open-minded, you always have to think you could be wrong. Now, let's talk about quickly Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci's been in I don't know how many different administrations as one of the lead medical officers for the country. There was a video that went viral and removed over and over again called Plandemic, about a doctor who worked with Fauci in AIDS research, and she makes the claim that Fauci has been using his position to create treatment protocols in which he is a founding investor in and making millions and millions of dollars. Do I know this for fact? No, I didn't research it, but I think it's possible. So that's another thing to consider. What's going on here? What has happened here because of the shutdown? There's been a simple shift here. So think about this. Walmart, Costco, Target, all the big retailers have stayed open. The little guys, out of business. So the basic shift there is the rich have just gotten richer and the rest of us have gotten poorer. That's what's happened. Now, if you think that happened by accident, then you and I, we're going to have a disagreement. That didn't happen by accident. That happened by design. And did you ever wonder why all of those stores like Costco, I love Costco. They have a really good system there. They corral you in. They keep you X amount of feet apart. They only allow so many people in the store. Those workers, they're in the store all day long with thousands of people rifling through there. Have you heard about any COVID outbreaks at Costco or Walmart? I mean, I haven't. If you have, then message me and let me know. So that's another thing. That's another indicator to me. Something isn't right here. But the one thing I know is the media exaggerates everything. So we're going to talk in our next video about police brutality and the videos that come on there, and why do the videos come on? Why are they presented in the way that they are? There's a motivation behind that. So anyway, that's my COVID story. I think for healthy people, the worst thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to get a bad flu and you're going to feel like shit. Because that happened to my son and it happened to my buddy who took the hydroxychloroquine. It can kill you just like influenza. You can do your own research. But if I'm correct that the percentage of people who have died from COVID has been greatly exaggerated, then the number of deaths is no greater or perhaps even less than influenza. You can do your own comparisons. I have the CDC tabs pulled up here, and I'm going right off of that. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. I do feel blessed and grateful that we got it early and it ran its course through our house. We all survived. And we have a newborn baby in the house. I mean, think about that. So I have 3 generations of people in my household. And, you know, we're all healthy and alive. And I'm grateful for that. I love you all. Let's keep open minds. Let's keep questioning everything. Question everything. When you see something that makes you emotional on TV or angry, then go try to find the opposite point of view from whatever made you emotional, because the media is trying to make us emotional. And we need now more than ever to open our eyes and band together all races. And we need to start holding the people who are in control accountable. And we need to start putting some upward pressure on them because we're getting our asses kicked. So I love you all. We'll talk soon. Let me know what you think.